So if you've ever lost trust for yourself, this is for you. One of the biggest things I try to emphasize to individuals is that you don't need to become a completely different person. For example, you don't have to have the perfect routine. You don't have to have the perfect process. You don't need the maximum amount of motivation or confidence. But what you really need is evidence. And I talk a lot about that because self trust is not built on what you want to do or what you intend to do. We all know it's built on what you actually do time after time after time. And that's what I want you to understand. And once that really registers, that's when everything can actually begin to change. Let's go a little bit deeper. A lot of people, they think building self-trust has to do with making more grand promises to themselves. This time I'm finally going to do it. I'm going to change this time. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm all in. Grand claim, which is okay for some people because, for a little bit, you might get the dopamine going and, things feel a little bit easier and you're in your flow, and then the wall hits. You hit a wall. Then you say, hey, I'll do that in the morning, and then you'll do it next week or the week after. And that compounds. And before you know it, you've actually reinforced the exact pattern that you're trying to get out of. Be very frustrating. But none of that is about because you're a failure or you don't have the talent. And in time, there's a feedback loop to where you begin to tell yourself that your intentions actually are mismatched from your actions. And that can lead to inaction or being stuck, per se. Biggest misconceptions about the change process or creating change or making change is that you need more motivation. You really do. That's a big misconception. Throw that out the window. You need more evidence because your body and your brain is paying attention to what you actually do. Don't necessarily need even more goals or journaling or anything like that. It starts and ends with your behaviors. Keeping the small promises, they're data. The data and evidence can become, you know what, I am a reliable person. I am someone who can follow through. Or the data and evidence can go the other way. I'm not the person that follows through, and, I'm someone who doesn't keep the word that I have to myself. So self-trust is not a feeling. It's not. It's accumulated evidence. The things you do today, the things you repeatedly do, and how that can make a change for tomorrow. So you don't have to make grand claims. You don't have to make grand intentions. I always say start small or go home, not, start big or go home. Start small and see what happens. Well, obviously, I talk a lot about closing the gap because every decision you make, every single one of them, either lessens the gap or widens it. And you don't have to be an individual who makes perfect decisions, but you got to make a line decision or a decision that moves the needle some toward who you're becoming. Because if you're not, you're going to be stuck in the same place or going in the opposite direction. And these decisions, you want to, for the most part, make decisions that align with your intention, because that's how you close or lessen the gap. Not right now, not next week, not overnight, but in time, that gap can lessen. So let me ask you this. Let's say tonight or tomorrow, before you begin to think about all the things that you're trying to get done, before you ask yourself that, ask this: what's one small promise you'll know you will keep right now? Not the biggest promise you can make of your life, but the most realistic one that you can make and actually keep. Because every promise you keep is feedback for your brain and your body, for your brain and body to say, you know what, I can trust this person. And that's priceless. I get the question, I've asked myself a lot, how do I begin to trust myself more? And people ask me that, and I think that's the wrong question. You need to reframe that. And there's a better question you can ask. What evidence am I giving myself that I'm actually a trustworthy person? Because it's not built through an aha moment. It's not. It's built through regular, boring decisions that's going to be made every day when nobody's watching. one little small action, one promise, one moment at a time. And in time, these regular decisions that you make, the boring ones, become overwhelming data and evidence for you that you are becoming somebody that keeps their word, that you are becoming somebody that's reliable. And that's how you close that gap with where you are today and where you know, right? Where you know, not where your friend, girlfriend, wife, cousin, nope, not what anybody thinks, but where you know you becoming, who you know you're becoming. You. It's you versus you, me versus me. So here's what I ask you. If this video helped you understand yourself a little bit better, or gave you a little bit more insight than you had before, subscribe to the channel, because I work really hard to help individuals uncover patterns that are hidden or secret, or ones that they've maybe never thought about before, that can keep them stuck. And, just really understanding how you can help an individual close the gap, because we've all had one. Some of us are living in the gap more than others, but closing the gap between where you are today and between the person you know you're capable of becoming. I'm Darren. Forward.